From the Daily Reporter, this is Ethan Duran. Welcome to Brews and Blueprints, a podcast about construction and development across Wisconsin. I'm Ethan Duran of the Daily Reporter, and this is the Brews and Blueprints podcast. I'm with Dave Beeler, the third-generation owner of Menomonee Falls-based Beeler Construction. Beeler Construction has been around under a different name since 1959 and resurged in 1986 with Beeler's grandfather, father, and uncle. Dave himself started in the construction trades and in his own business at a very young age before starting an apprenticeship at the company at 18. We'll learn a little more bit about Dave and his company in this episode. Thanks for joining us today, Dave.
Thank you, Ethan. Greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. I sort of did the recap in the introduction, but can you tell me a little bit about Beeler Construction's history? Did I get anything wrong?
No. So, 1959, my grandfather started up a construction company. Same line of work that we do, commercial general contractors that self-perform carpentry. And in 1986, he had split off from his other two partners. And then with my father and uncle, started Beeler Construction. So between my grandfather, father, and uncle, that was 86. And then in 1992, my grandfather retired, and then my aunt had bought his shares. And then fast forward to 2018, I had bought my father's shares, and my cousin business partner, Chad, had bought his father's shares. So they both retired in 2018. We bought their shares. So today it is my aunt, Kim, my cousin, Chad, and myself, Dave. And it's been a fun journey. Not forgetting what got us here, but knowing it won't get us there. So always striving to take the company to the next level has really been a fun journey. 2020, we really started focusing on restructuring some specific functions. We had formed a leadership team. We formalized our core values, although they were lived through for the previous several years. We created a flywheel, created a Beeler operating system, and really kind of set the foundation for years to come. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
That's really nice having a very family-oriented business from the top, especially. Before we dive into, laying that foundation at what it means next, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you mentioned you worked from a very young age, from the age of 9. You had a birdhouse business, started, apprenticeship at 18. Can you tell me a little about your personal work history?
Yeah. As you mentioned, my other grandfather was a mason contractor, so I was a laborer for him, and I think that's what helped build my thick skin is getting yelled at by the old Germans, laying block and doing concrete work and whatnot, and really enjoyed it. And that's where the passion started with construction. I had then started a little birdhouse business. I put a prototype birdhouse in my backpack and pedaled it around and sold them. And then that same grandfather helped me get materials and deliver the birdhouses after I had built them. Also started a little firewood business and tree cutting business at 15 years old. And between the little birdhouse business and firewood business really helped hone in the entrepreneurial skills and really opened my eyes to different opportunities out there. At age 16, I started working for a house framer. So we did houses, roofing, siding, decks, whatnot. And then I also, outside of that, nights and weekends, did a lot of projects myself directly with homeowners. And again, that really helped the interaction and getting out of my comfort zone with talking to different clients, really helped learn a lot. Obviously, a lot of small failures occurred, and I used those as stepping stones to success. And really, that led into the fork in the road of going to college or starting an apprenticeship. With the passion I had of construction and just really liked the hands-on learning way. So I opted to take the fork and started my apprenticeship with Beeler here at 18. And then that's where I had switched from from residential to commercial. Yeah, and I really think that helped with where I'm at today, just as far as learning all aspects of the business and really getting a lot of that field knowledge, which really helped gain respect from the field folks. Also, while in the office, just understanding the full life cycle of these projects.
Can I ask what inspired you from a very young age to really hit the pavement and work as hard as you did?
I would say I'd have to owe a lot of that to my grandfather, who I had worked for as the mason contractor, as well as my father. Both of them really painted that picture of all the opportunities out there. You can get anything that you want as long as you put in the hard work. So I would say between those two.
Now, you mentioned, buying your father's shares in 2018, still a pretty recent date. When you became owner, what were some of the early challenges and lessons learned?
Letting go of certain things, was my biggest challenge. So as I had mentioned before, you've got a lot of passion. Let's say it's, building something, or if it's working your way up to the ranks of project managing something. You take a lot of pride and passion to something. It's very hard to let it go. So that was probably the number one thing, leadership. With the position I'm in right now, you go from that entrepreneurial mindset of jumping in and just getting things done to that president CEO mindset of developing leaders. So, I was at a point where I am working on developing leaders, but also working on leadership development myself. So really tried to tackle that in tandem and did as much self-development as I possibly could to stay ahead of that. But yeah, letting go of certain things, leadership, and then, really just prioritizing your time and knowing what you should be spending it on. Again, that goes back to letting go of things. I would dive in and help out some certain individuals with some issue resolution, but really I was doing a disservice to them, not letting them figure those items out on their own. But yeah, again, it was a lot of small failures, which I strongly encourage to folks. Like I had mentioned previously, you can utilize those strong failures as stepping stones to success.
What has Beeler Construction been up to lately, project wise? Are there any notable projects you'd like to mention while we're talking?
Yeah, we do have a few notable projects. I will say though, Beeler is out there. We strive to sell and create partnerships versus projects. So our ultimate goal is trying to locate these potential clients, run them through a filtering system to ensure that they are true partners. And our goal is to basically partner up and do work together for the foreseeable future. So, with that being said, we did complete a ground up freighter facility in Sussex. That's going back a few years. Through a retailer, there was a rollout that was multiple stores in multiple states. That was a really exciting and rewarding project. And then through a couple healthcare organizations that we do work with, there are some projects we're very, very proud of, but again, more importantly, the the strengthening of the existing relationships is what we really like to hang our hat on. So our revenue, gross profit, project count, growth within those existing clients is what we're really been excited about the last few years. We've also got some high-end retailers that we've been doing work for throughout the Midwest, and we completed a number of refresh projects for those folks as well, and, we've got a couple on the books for 2025 and 2026 also. So to summarize that, we're not into those 50, 80, $100 million high-rise projects. We really specialize in those high barrier, live, sensitive work environments as well as building relationships with existing clients for the foreseeable future.
Definitely an exciting world. Um, why don't we talk a little bit about, I guess, being a leader of a construction company and, some of the strategies you have to come up with to make things work, make your revenue grow and grow teams and whatnot. When it comes to, creating a cohesive team in the field or in the office, what are some strategies that you've found worked and you like to employ?
Yeah, this is an exciting topic. We've all been there if you're in the construction world of the finger pointing from the office to the field and vice versa. Really to oversimplify it, it's simple communication. And we've tried several different reporting system. We've tried several different ways of communicating through technology. We've tried different surveys, and we've all gotten some bits and pieces that were advantageous to us to put into this system, but it really came down to simple communication. We're a team, so we really push being open and honest, and at times you have to leave your ego at the door and just talk about things. One other thing too is what's really helped is sharing the vision. So, we have to understand if we're going to roll a big goal or initiative out, what is in it for the folks here in the office and in the field? And it can't be about leadership or the executive team. It's got to be a team approach. So, what I ended up doing is creating is what's called a vivid vision. Some of you folks may have heard of it, but essentially it's just a 3, 5, sometimes 8-page document that illustrates where the company is going in 3 years, and it's written in such a way where it basically says, it's 2027 and we have 2 locations, we have 100 employees, we have XYZ, and it's available to all the employees, and we also roll this out to a few of our client partners as well, just to keep them informed of where we're going and what it's gonna look like when we get there. I think that's really, really helped as well, and that's from a bigger picture, 30,000-foot view from field and office. Getting back to the cohesiveness of specific projects with office and field, again, I'll resort back to over communicating and really just you know, capitalizing on the team approach versus the I situations. And we're all in it together, and a lot of times office folks will be reaching out to the field folks just from a needs and methods standpoint. They're the ones doing the work. So we get a lot of input from the field as we're in the pre-construction phases of this project, just knowing that that's going to be the team executing the work moving forward.
Okay. How about some strategy about growing your workforce and your revenue in a short period of time? I saw some numbers, about tripling revenue between 2020 to 2024, doubling your number of employees. How did you get people through the door and rake some of that cash in?
People, definitely people, from our director of talent and culture, which was accountable for the recruiting, the hiring, the onboarding, the retention, our project teams for the work execution, the right folks fostering the relationships, and the right clients that are willing to grow with you. Number one definitely is the people, but you also back to that vivid vision, you have to have a plan, you have to have a target. If you don't have a target, any role will get you there. So, back I was explaining earlier, with the history portion, in late 2019, early 2020, we established a 10-year target, a 3-year picture, and a 1-year plan. So that really helped us all knowing where we're going and then what's needed to get there. And a right filtering system too. So we're not taking every opportunity that comes through. We have established a Beeler flywheel. So essentially it's like the life cycle of any opportunity. So think of it as a tire. And if an opportunity comes in, it'll either help build momentum with the flywheel, what we have going on, or it will act as a stick and a spoke and stop the flywheel. So our filtering system, between our core values, between our Beeler operating system, between that flywheel and various other items and tools that we use. We use that with our employees, with our clients, and with our projects as well. And really making sure that everybody in the organization is promoting your business. We're a firm believer at sales at every level. So, yes, we have a sales team, but also, we really, really emphasize the importance of our first year apprentices, for instance, if they're walking in an occupied facility and see a piece of trash in, a corridor next to a garbage can, they pick that up and throw it out. Or if there's a patient in a healthcare organization that may look lost and we know the facility well, we may ask them, can we help you with something? So something as simple as that, we try to have a sales opportunity identified at each level of the business, which has really helped foster our relationships with not only existing clients, but new clients as well. And again, if I had to go back and resort to one thing, it would definitely be the people.
Dave, you mentioned this vivid vision a couple of times, and I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little more about it. Do you have any set goals or metrics within that you'd like to share? And if so, what is your progress like with that right now?
Yeah, great question. So with the vivid vision, there is, just for conversation, let's say 15 items within that vivid vision. So it's a 3-year journey. So what we end up doing is we handpick a few of those items that we're working on, and then we also build a plan on some of the items that may take, up to the full 3 years. So one of them is we are looking at opening up a second location, and that's not something that typically you would open up, at the snap of a finger. So there's obviously the due diligence period, buildings, market research, clients. There's so many different layers there. So we identify what those are, of what takes the most time to plan, and then we start our execution from there. So the second location is 100 employees. We're sitting at 63 right now. So our goal is to have 100 employees. As far as market diversification, we have some market diversification goals. We have some backlog and pipeline goals. And really, like that specific example, that really helps employee retention, and just the excitement and the energy with the team of knowing that we've got opportunities, for a 1 to 3 year period. Some other items, best places to work. Our goal is to win that award by 2027. Have a candidate that is in the 40 under 40. And then, a lot of, I mentioned culture, a lot of general items that we have in there. Culture is a tough thing to measure. So we have it broken out as much as we can. And then we have our director of talent and culture that's rolling out specific things, whether it be, a planning and celebration day. So a full day where all the employees will come in. We can celebrate our successes from the previous year, potentially have a speaker that comes in. We have those right now. We just haven't busted up throughout the year. But it's really something no different than what I was mentioning before about goals and setting targets. But when you start putting a pen to paper, that's really where you can start planning these and putting some dates to it. Other than that, it just becomes an idea and it really never comes to fruition.
Can I ask who your culture manager is? You might want to give him a shout out.
Jackie. Yeah, she's been great. And, this might get intertwined in some of the other questions or resorting back to some of the previous questions, but that's one big difference that we've noticed from an HR standpoint. We tackled it within other functions of the business and then us as owners. And, we didn't realize how important that position was. Let's see, October of 23, I believe it was, is when she had started. And it's just amazing when you bring that energy into the business, and her specifically, of just different layers of the onion that she helps us peel back, and how important it is. Because without great people, you have no business. And if things are changing faster outside your business than inside your business, you have no business. So she helps us. She's very well connected with the industry and others, and brings a lot of great things to the table.
I was just thinking, the way you even describe it from the roles of the first year apprentices, picking up and, helping people on project sites. When you have that amount of value kind of built into every role at every level, do you think that's something that sets you apart from the competition of other construction companies, or other factors as well?
I do, and, the word partnerships, relationships, sometimes that word gets overused, And I do truly feel the level of service that we do provide with that filtering system that we have, from a financial standpoint, if we could capitalize on some extra gross profit dollars, or we look at it from a service standpoint, we always will resort back to that filtering system on truly fostering those existing relationships with clients or developing new relationships or partnerships. Some other items is we are not to say that we only do service. We do ground up construction as well. Service across both service type work and ground up construction. But service in general, we respond with urgency. We really pride ourselves on maximizing the client's return on investment, and that it's regardless of the project size. It could be a multi-million dollar interior gut and remodel. It could be something as simple as a one room renovation. But we always try to put ourselves in the client's shoes to figure out what the best return on that investment for that particular project could be. Another one is the extensive experience that we have working in live sensitive environments. So any occupied facility across all 5 of the markets that we do work in, we really work closely with the clients and develop a phasing plan to ensure that they can keep that income generating and that revenue coming in while we're performing the work. And then the last item I'll say is pride ourselves with developing customized solutions for clients. So we understand there's not a one size fits all, but we like to sit down early with these clients and figure out what is the best approach for this. And then we are very nimble and flexible to be able to satisfy their needs.
While we're talking a little bit about the future, what kind of markets do you see Beeler growing into? Is that I know you have a pretty wide portfolio of different markets and areas to work in, but is that part of the future plan as well to sort of break into new markets as well?
It is. I'll back up to 2018 as we were talking about our history. We had one particular client that, it was majority of both revenue and gross profit dollars. A phenomenal client, had very, very deep roots with. And unfortunately, they had filed for bankruptcy the year that my cousin and I had both bought in. So it's like anything else. You don't fail, you learn. And it was really an eye opener from a diversification standpoint, as we had a lot of our eggs in that basket. So from then on to now and for the foreseeable future, we were really focusing on diversification. So we are very strong in healthcare right now, and then some specific retail and hospitality. So the other 3 markets that we're really targeting to grow in 2025 and 2026 is industrial manufacturing. And, we've got a decent portfolio of projects. We need to increase our diversification in those. And this doesn't mean do less work in healthcare or retail and hospitality. It's just putting more fuel on the fire on these other 3 markets. So industrial manufacturing being one of them, senior living being another, and then the other one is commercial, specifically tenant improvements and ground up work.
I had learned a little bit about this from someone working some public relations for you, but I understand you have a very packed average work day, and I wanted to ask what that looks like from start to finish.
Yeah, we've only got 30 minutes here. This one I can go on about. I am very passionate about goals, about time management, calendar management. Very exciting topic. But yeah, great question. And I get this a lot, and like I'll tell everybody, every single person gets 168 hours in a week. It's a matter of how you use it. So I'm pretty strict on calendar management. I'm not saying that works for everybody. Everybody has their own way of managing it. For me, I preload calendars. So I've got a 2027, a 2026, and a 2025 calendar. And it's one of those larger wall type calendars. So what I do is I set everything in stone, and that's both personal and professional. So it could be vacations, it could be work trips, it could be birthdays, it could be various different things that are set in stone, and then keep planning around those items. But at least it helps me prepare what I have going on, not only in future years, but that current year. So then that current year, I break that into each quarter, Q1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I break that into each month. I break that into weeklies and then daily habits of what I have to do from a time management standpoint or a habit standpoint to accomplish goals. So really, you know, what I like to stress is be 100% of what you're doing at that time. So for instance, you hear work-life balance a lot, which everybody has their own view on that. My big thing is if you're at the dinner table with your family, be at the dinner table with your family. When you're, at work or you're working at home, be 100% at that. Sometimes when you mesh those two together, it could be difficult. Me personally, I have like, as far as meshing those together back to the work-life balance, like, I don't really look at, you know, whatever, 7 o'clock in the morning, let's just say, to uh, 5 o'clock in the afternoon as your work day. There's times I'll sprinkle a few things in here and there, but just making sure that you're blocking that specific time. I block time I have two children, so I block time and make sure that I'm making my work schedule around that. I have a monthly date night with my wife to make sure that that calendar is being blocked. I try to go on 1 or 2 hunting adventures per year that require a lot of training. I've been getting into health and fitness here the last few years, so just making sure that there's blocks on your calendar. And as I mentioned, the 26, 25, 2025, down to the quarters. I know it sounds a little exhausting, but once you get down to that and you can preload your calendar several weeks in advance, it really makes it flow smooth. Now, if folks aren't doing that right now, it may seem a little overwhelming and it might take a good month or two to get that cadence down pat. But yeah, it's really being very disciplined on your calendar and making sure that you're carving out enough time for yourself, for your family, and then obviously for your career paths.
Dave, you've been working since a very young age. Can I ask, how old are you now?
38 years old.
It's a good age to be in this, your role, I think. Well, so that's a little bit of the history, the values, and the goals of Beeler Construction. Now, Dave, if anyone wants to do business with you, or if there's anything we've left out, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, hop on our website, www.beelerconstruction.com, and you can navigate through there. Lots of information. There's a contact us page that goes back to our sales and marketing department. Personally, myself, by all means, feel free to reach out. My email address is D as in Dave Beeler, Beeler at beelerconstruction.com. Our main office line here is 262-252-7000.
All right, and I'll have to say, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Ethan. Greatly appreciate it.
It's a pleasure talking to you.